The question says that the indigenous communities are not only the beneficiaries but are also active participants of conservation. So here this question has two parts. It is a 15 marker question, and this question has two parts, which talks about that they are not only the beneficiary, the first part, but they are also active participants in the conservation. So for any question we should be very clear about two things, that is the approach of the question and about of the question. What is the about of the question here? Indigenous communities. The about of the question is very clear that it is talking about indigenous communities, but do I have to go rambling about different types of indigenous communities in different parts of the world or in India? No. How do I have to approach this question? I have to approach this question by talking about how these indigenous communities are beneficiaries as well as active participants in the conservation of the environment and different forest. And it is not just forest, it is the wildlife, it is the forest, it is the sacred groves. It is a very comprehensive question that way. So the challenge here will be to keep in mind that I give enough examples of these communities, and I also prove that they are benefiting as well as conserving the different flora and fauna in these regions. So let us just understand how to attempt this question. The introduction, I personally really like the introduction in this question. Reason being, it talks about the Paris Agreement preamble. Now, Paris Agreement, which is part of the UNFCCC climate talks, very important. Reason being, this year the whole world is rambling about setting climate neutrality targets. Climate neutrality is also sometimes called as the carbon neutrality. China has already given the target, USA has given the target, European Union has gone a step ahead and given the Fit for 55 target for itself. Now there is a lot of pressure on India to declare its target year to achieve carbon neutrality. Now India says that you have to first achieve the goals which were set in the previous especially the Paris Agreement deal of 2015, and then you expect me to take up any other climate related target. So this year's Glasgow COP26, Glasgow is in Scotland, United Kingdom. So this year the meeting will be in Glasgow, and it is called the COP26. Is very important since there is a shift of power in the United States of America. The current government under Biden is pro-climate talks and pro-climate related issues. Trump had withdrawn USA from the climate talks. Now USA has re-entered, so there is a shift of dynamic. So therefore, climate related any topic becomes important for you UPSC. Another important thing is that IPCC has given its assessment report 6 this year in the year 2021. I expect that you have gone through the important chapters, especially the extreme events due to climate change is very, very important, and India has been one of the worst suffering countries. It has quantified that how monetarily also India is going to lose a lot due to climate change. So given all this that is important, I cannot think of a better starting of this question. Why? Because here it is saying that the preamble of the Paris Agreement on climate change has recognize the intrinsic relationship between the indigenous communities and their environment, which means that the participation is sine qua non for the conservation. What is sine qua non? Indispensable, cannot be done without. So it is very, very essential for the conservation of forest resources and biodiversity. So the second part, that is the conservation part, has been substantiated in the introduction. Now this one line, that this in turn provides several benefits to them, has substantiated the first part of the question, that how they are benefiting. So it is a very balanced introduction. Now coming to the body of the question, one mistake that you have to avoid is do not start writing about which community is protecting, conserving or benefiting from their environment in the introduction itself. This is a very common mistake which students do. they start writing the whole answer in the introduction itself, and then that is where your answer, does not have a good structure. वो जो बह जाता है ना हमारा आंसर, कहीं पे कुछ है कहीं पे कुछ है, वो मिस्टेक हमसे तभी होती है. Now coming to the body of the question here, the role of indigenous community participation in conservation effort. So since this is the most important part, let us start with this. The first has been talking about the natural flora or the forest. Now here I think the most important would be the role of sacred groves. Sacred groves are nothing but these are the forests which are considered as religiously important for indigenous communities. So when religion is attached with the conservation efforts become more intensified. The example of such sacred groves and their conservation is, I think, the orans in Rajasthan. Orans are the type of forest. Orans is where you have a small water body also. Then you have some types of plantation. The communities, they gather over here over important occasion. They sing and dance. There is, a proper religious connection to these forests. So, of course, the conservation will be more strengthened. Similarly, the Sernas of Madhya Pradesh are also very important religiously for these communities. Another important part is the conservation of wildlife. Now, there are many communities in India, especially Northeast India. In Gujarat, there is a community which follows animalism. What is animalism? That is the worshipping of animals, where animals are attached and have some religious or sentimental value for the community. So it helps in the conservation of wildlife. So since they have the in-depth knowledge of the local geography and have the beliefs such as animalism, they help in conservation. One such beautiful example are the Maldharis. Maldharis are the nomadic cattle herders of Gujarat, and they have helped in the conservation of lion population. So this is a very, very important, otherwise you can also talk about the, sacred value of hornbill among the northeastern people, especially Nagaland, which has also curbed the overall hunting of this beautiful bird. It depends on you. You can use any of these examples. Now coming to conservation of the water resources. This is very, very important. This itself can become a 10-marker question in itself. So how the conservation of water resources or recharging of groundwater or recharging of lakes is done? For example, by using indigenous water harvesting techniques such as the johars or the pokhars in Rajasthan and the bamboo pipelines in Meghalaya. Very, very beautiful example. Let us see how do they look. Now this is the Johar in Rajasthan. What is it? It is nothing but it is a dugout small lake in the Rajasthan region where it is arid and semi-arid conditions, especially the western part of Rajasthan and the central part of Rajasthan. It is only the eastern part of Rajasthan, few districts of Kota, Bundi, etc., which have adequate water supply. Otherwise, Rajasthan mostly have the central and the western part is arid or semi-arid, and water shortage is an issue. Now this guy, what is the name of this person? Tarun Bharat Singh. Tarun Bharat Singh, you can use it as a case study also. What is he doing? He is building such johars in the district of Karoli. How many johars? 30. So there are 30 villages in the district of Karoli, and he is building johars in this region. What is basically done here? Rainwater harvesting. Also, it can be used in an initiative under Catch the Rain. Alright. So this is how a johar looks. Another very beautiful example of indigenous rainwater harvesting technique is drip irrigation using bamboo pipelines. So this is a 200 plus years old system of Meghalaya. These are the bamboos. This is the main channel. Main channel of what? Main channel of river. So here I am having a river, and here I have created these pipelines where the water is flowing towards the field. This is where my field is. I have created small holes here, and it will provide drip irrigation to the fields. So this is also a very beautiful way. In fact, it was recognized within the ideas at 75. Now, since India became 75 years old this year, right? So India gained independence in 1947 and we turned 75. So there were this ideas which were given out by different ministries. This is by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, in which it recognized that the bamboo drip irrigation can become the answer to the areas where there are arid and semi-arid conditions. It is also part of Catch the Rain initiative. Where is it followed? It is followed in Meghalaya. Can it be used in other areas? Of course. How much water transport capacity it has? 18 to 20 liters of water enters the bamboo pipe and gets transported over hundreds of meters, and it reduces 20 to 80 drops per minute at the site of the plant, and the flow of water into pipeline is controlled by manipulating the pipeline position. As we saw here, you can manipulate the pipeline position and then provide water in the fields. So this is also a very beautiful way for drip irrigation. Now another tribe which has been very active are from the Odisha. From Odisha, this tribe has been practicing mixed agriculture. They were head on with the Vedanta group, and they did not allow Vedanta group to put their mining and related industry in their region. This is a tribe from Odisha. Let us see what this tribe is doing with the mixed agriculture. Now, it is the Dongriya Khond tribe. It is the Dongriya Khond tribe of the Niyamgiri hills of Odisha, and they have been active in conservation of seeds. So they have been very particular that they will be using the indigenous seeds only, and they have kept the indigenous seeds still alive in this region. Apart from that, they have also the unique mixed cropping techniques, and they also believe in sustainable agroforestry. So this tribe has been in news for a lot of good reasons, and of course for fighting climate change, we need to go back to these indigenous techniques. So for fighting climate change, the traditional agricultural practices of indigenous communities are first more climate resistant, and they can help in fighting climate change and pave way for sustainable development. Now coming to the second part of the question, which is how these communities are benefiting from saving their environment or from the conservation efforts of their environment. So here you can use this kind of an infographic. First is the economic benefit. What are the economic benefits of this? It can increase their income. For example, the minor forest products. If you remember, you got a question in your prelims over minor forest products, right? So you can write it here. It also provides employment. Now for social benefits, reduction in poverty, women empowerment, out migration is reduced. For political benefits, the upliftment through decentralization, so they have a say. Now in your conclusion, you can say that the government of India has taken steps such as providing community forest rights under Forest Rights Act of 2006. Very important. So these community forest rights are provided under the Forest Rights Act of 2006, which will increase the indigenous community participation in the conservation efforts. However, the implementation is far from complete due to one, lack of synchronization between center and state. So here the role of state government becomes very important. Then the community participation can be made effective by using ways such as community reserves, joint forest management, and social forestry. So I hope you got an idea how to write a balanced answer. You have used a lot of examples, you've used an infographic, and within 2 pages, you have completed a 15-marker question. So we'll be coming up with more such questions. Till then, keep practicing, and all the best for your exam.